each country should do for itself. And finally, I think this point has been emphasized a lot. They should be for all stakeholders, not just governments. And so, when we look at the issue from the Asian perspective, this SD, the global goals need to take into account national conditions. And so what we think is that there should be some set of, first of all, global common goals, but then there will also be some kind of national goals according to national conditions. And then there should also be a bottom-up approach, including goals for other stakeholders. Now, it's not quite clear exactly how this would be worked out, but I think this is the general principle that is being aimed at. Now, when we talk about governance, I know there are a lot of political scientists here, but just to have an oversimplified definition, governance is basically about decision-making, and the point is it's not just about governments, but also incorporates broader decision-making within society. And governance will be important in a number of different areas in development of the global goals. So first, we recognize that the current governance structures are inadequate. They have not given us sustainable development yet. And so governance will need to be important for the process of creating goals, as well as developing policies and measures to implement them. And then you have accountability mechanisms. And I think what's really important is that there should be some kind of process of revision, because after these are finished, then there will be some achieved and some not achieved, and some new conditions which will have to be taken into account. And this also happens a process for governance. Now, what are a few examples of some kind of reforms that may be important? First of all, since we know now that many of these problems are all interrelated, and we need an integrated approach to sustainable development. This means that sustainable development needs to be mainstreamed into other policies, and this means, in turn, more coordination between ministries and sectors. Karasawa-san illustrated some progress in this area, but much more needs to be done. And it's not only between ministries and sectors in the kind of horizontal way, but also vertically. We have different levels of government, and they need to work better together, such as national and local. Then we need more monitoring, and after the goals are created, we need monitoring and reporting to enhance accountability, because we expect the goals will be voluntary and not mandatory. The next point is we need more multi-stakeholder participation. Again, it's not just about governments, but we need to think about a more bottom-up approach. So, and here we can illustrate the different levels of governance, and different levels will be doing maybe different things. So at the global level, some kind of overarching goals will be set, and then the global community and the UN, for example, tends to assist with implementation and capacity building. Also, at the regional level, we have more regional institutions take a more facilitating kind of role. But basically, what we think is that the national level will also be very involved in setting goals and targets, not only at the national level, but they also at the global level. And the national level is expected to have the main responsibility for overseeing implementation. And then at the subnational level, this is closer to the bottom-up approach, and then local governments may develop local goals, work on implementation, and also have maybe more direct, is closer to civil society. And then finally, civil society also plays a big role. Governments and ordinary citizens all have to do their own part to make production cleaner as well as consumption cleaner. It's important to note, one level cannot solve all the problems by itself, and there needs to be cooperation within levels and between levels, and we need to think about what is the lowest possible level which can do the job. From an Asian perspective, I think one very important element in all this is the issue of regional integration. And I know with the current political situation in international relations, people maybe have a hard time imagining this, but in my observation, there is a very steady progress towards economic integration in East Asia, and it's focused on trade and investment liberalization. And I think what we need to do is make sure that sustainable development ends up being at the center of this. Trade and investment liberalization is okay, but it needs to be reoriented towards sustainable development. And if all the countries are doing this, this will help to promote new metrics, or even sustainable development could help to overcome some of the more severe political differences. And probably ASEAN may be at the center of this. I'm not sure, but maybe ASEAN plus 3 or plus some others. And ASEAN is already going to have a ASEAN community, and this may, in the very long run, be expanded. APEC is another one of these broadly focused international frameworks and has a comprehensive view. APEC could also be leading with sustainable development, although its focus is still also mainly on trade and investment liberalization. So there's more room to reorient there. So for my conclusion, I think that the key point is that sustainable development needs to move beyond environment ministries and needs to be integrated into the focus of other ministries. And so for me, the indicator of better governance for sustainable development is when I open up the newspaper and then I read the finance minister and the foreign minister and the economy minister are all talking about sustainable development. That's when we read the paper and see that, that's when we know that we will be making progress, because we do not read this in the newspaper right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. Now we could take a couple of questions and then we will ask our panel members to respond. So any questions for the panel, to ISIS, to the conference organizers? On the third